Hey guys, Juan and Angelica, we're back for another episode, and believe it or not, we are past episode 10. We're actually recording more than 10 episodes already. So,
I know.
I think this might be episode 10. I lost track, but I can't believe we've recorded that many times.
I know, todavía no los deschongamos. Not yet. At least not yet. So, today, what did I tell you I was going to talk about, Juan?
You said social engineering.
Social engineering. Have you ever heard the term?
I feel like I have, but I don't. I feel like I have, but only to like a very small degree, and I don't remember exactly what it meant.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to read a definition to you, and then I'm going to read an explanatory kind of definition, and then I'm going to give you my interpretation. So social engineering, it's the use of centralized planning in an attempt to manage social change and regulate the future development and behavior of a society. It's the use, this is their, like, I guess, their way of explaining. It's
whose way?
I think, I don't know, I got it off of definition Wikipedia. I'm not sure where I got it from, but I was coming across the word had appeared to me a while back, and I kept thinking of this word, and people kept talking about engineering conversations online right now and how to engineer conversations online. And so I was like, you know what, I've kind of heard of that, social engineering, and it's sort of like that, right? Guiding a conversation online in a very, not a deceptive way, but in a very I guess manipulated way. So it is the use of deception to manipulate individuals. There you go. The use of deception to manipulate individuals into divulging confidential or personal information that may be used for fraudulent purposes. For example, people with online accounts should watch the phishing attacks and other forms of social engineering. So, have you ever seen somebody's post that was kind of like a jab, like an indirect, like way backwards way of saying something without really saying it?
Like a backhanded comment?
Not a backhanded comment. It's like, for example, when you have two different parties sharing kind of the same information, but one of them to misrepresentate or to manipulate the conversation omits part of the conversation. Right? So they omit like what the entire conversation is, or what all the facts might be, or what everybody should know, and just kind of gives you what, just not one-sided way, but just their way of wanting you to think a certain way. So they kind of, for me, it's more of like a way to like cornering you into like a maze. And they kind of push you around this maze,
manipulating you, basically.
It's sort of, yeah.
But so that's really what social engineering is? Because
that's what social engineering in a very generalized way of saying it. Now, people use social engineering in a very broad sense, right?
Because the way I had heard of social engineering, like the only time I've ever heard of social engineering was to describe, and I need to stop saying the word like, because I was listening to the last couple of recordings, and I say that word so much. So I apologize to you all that listen.
We're sorry for your ears.
I feel like I'm really from the valley. like. No, but so the way I had heard about that word was that it was like I had heard about it through like as a program where people were like engineering solutions to real life problems. So they were developing, creating, they were being innovative, and they were creating like new programs, and so it was like a social engineering program. So that's how I understood it. That's how I understood it.
Well, that can be a way.
So what you're saying is completely new, because I've never heard
in that way
anybody talk about to me that's just like manipulation, no? Like somebody just being manipulative.
Well, yeah, in a sense, it is what you're saying. It is like people developing some form of system to sit there and communicate with others. Now, it can be a very the task can get very dark very quick if they don't allow certain users, or if they allow just certain topics, or if a topic is talked about, you're only be able to shine light on it in this direction, right? Which is kind of the way I feel. The only way it really interests me is because I have to admit, I've been very, not addicted, but I've been very invested into social media lately. And this is before COVID. I've been really invested for like the last 2-3 years, and I can't seem to keep my eyes off of things. And I feel like I'm very much being told how to think based on the things that I'm reading.
So what brought, I guess that's the question, what brought that on? Like, why did you find the need to investigate what this word means? Do you feel like everything you see on social media is like being social engineered?
To some degree it is. I feel like we are not allowed to talk about. Have you ever stopped yourself from expressing something online?
Yeah, like I think everybody.
I fear that we've all become lurkers. We've all become people who stopped kind of speaking up. So we stopped. Okay. So like back in high school, I remember that I felt there was a time where I felt very like not smart enough to participate. And I feel like that's the way that I'm dealing with like social media right now. It's that I feel like not that I'm not smart enough, but somehow all of a sudden I have to be witty and I have to be smart and I have to know it all and I have to know of everything. Otherwise you get shut down immediately, right? And it's no longer being based on the way you feel and what your perception is. It's all based on now like who knows how much of information do you know and how much you can spin that information.
Well, going back to something that you said something about like, do you ever censor yourself?
Yeah.
And I think now we censor ourselves a lot more than we did at the beginning. And I don't mean just us. I mean like people in general. I think that when you go on social media, like when Facebook first started, like go take it back even further. When MySpace first started, like people were very, I don't want to say transparent, but I feel like that could be the right word. Like, you know, people were much more transparent. Like they would decorate it with like things that they thought were nice, and they would put music that they liked, and they would put pictures that they wanted.
Yeah.
Then Facebook came along, and I think when we started getting on Facebook, like we were much more open. I feel like
I was more open on Facebook than I was on the other platform.
Yeah, but I think like
at the beginning of Facebook, like I remember I was putting just because it would say because the tagline was "What are you thinking?" or "I want to share." I don't know what it says right now.
And now all of a sudden, well, I think it's always said "What's on your mind?"
What's on your mind, or something like that. Yeah.
But now I feel like a lot of people, myself included, like I'll second guess, like, should I say that? Should I not say that? Because I feel like you said, maybe because not like, yeah, like maybe I'm a lurker too, but also because I think that other people are looking, so you never know, like whether it's like
who's gonna see it and who's gonna interpret the way they want to interpret.
And I think now, like, there's this whole concept of the internet is forever. So whatever you put out there, even if you delete it like 5 minutes later, somebody might have already screen captured it and it's already out there forever.
No. I believe that is true. It's once it's out there forever. Once it's posted, I think there's people out there who have systems in place that grab everything that's posted, and so it's literally it's carbon copied somewhere. Somebody has it.
But I think more important than that, whether it's captured or not, it's like why do you think that we have that need now to like censor our own selves?
Because we're afraid of any form of retaliation, any form. Like now we consider everything that we post. And so, for example, me, I would say it's the algorithm, but for a while now that even when I post things, like if people don't like it or people don't interact with it, that's already telling me a lot. That's already telling me that people aren't looking at it. Little do I know that it's probably because I never post. And so Facebook's like, oh, nobody interacts with your stuff anyway. For the last 2-3 years, why would we put what you're saying on top for people to look at it?
Yeah.
Right. And so but we take offense to everything. We're looking at our likes, we're looking at our views, we're looking at reaction. Did I get a heart? Did I get a like? Did I get a laugh? Did I get a haha? And if somebody likes something as opposed to hearting it, why did they like it? I wasn't, it's not something to like, it's something to love. It's something to like show me that you read it, but it's not something. So you can interpret even it's the stupid emojis. I'm getting pissed at this point. Even the stupid emojis, you have a natural reaction to it. And I'm feeling like I've trained my brain to adjust to this, and it's been on my mind lately for the last couple of months, the fact that I've been socially engineered like that, to now obsess about certain things, the way certain things are said, and who's saying what. Like automatically when a feed comes up, I already know what they might be talking about, what they might be saying, and I already know what their opinion might be. And Lord forbid that I go and disagree, because the outcome might not be favorable. And not only are we afraid to lose friends in real life, now we're afraid to lose friends online, with socially engineered friends, people that we might never even have been friends with in person, but yet we're so afraid to lose them because of the convenience, I guess same interactions, huh?
But what would happen if you if somebody posted something that you didn't agree with, and you said, and you went in on there, and you went in on them, and you said, what, I don't agree with what you're saying. I think that what you're saying is wrong, or maybe you should think about it from this perspective. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Like you said,
I think we go back
on social. Yeah, they might have a bad reaction, but in real life,
I think people think of it as for real. Like people take internet for real. So, and the only time I ever think back of like when my, not bad experiences, but experiences that weren't necessarily the most pleasant, and they don't keep me up at night, but I can only think back to the time in high school. Do you ever remember this? At least this was in my high school, when there was a couple of in each classroom, there would be some who spoke above more than others. And if you disagreed, or if you said something, they would try to challenge you. Right. And I'm always afraid of that challenge. I'm always afraid of being told that I'm wrong because of the way I feel. Right. Because it's difficult. It's easy to argue with me, facts and notions and things like that. But it's very difficult to argue with me about my own feelings, because then you're like, but that's just the way I feel. Right. And so along comes the word snowflake. Along comes the word, so now your feelings are hurt. So now, people make fun of it, and you're like, well, no, my feelings aren't hurt, but this is just my opinion. It happens to be different from yours, and I just want to talk to you about why I think that your opinion is skewed in one direction, and why my opinion is maybe skewed in the other direction.
But I think maybe it's a general fear of people just don't want to have an argument. Like people just don't want to argue because they're like, and I think maybe like the last, since things got so political.
Yeah. I think and it was before that. It was before it got political. The only reason it got intense is because of social media.
Well, the reason I feel like after it got so political that everybody really,
we were like this way before that.
Everybody started putting their guard up way up higher. Maybe I should say that, or now they have these friend groups, so you can say it to only your close friends, and you can block it from your the rest of the people
who think like you.
Yeah, so it's people that think like you, so you're not exposing it to other people that don't think like you.
But is that a bad or good thing, that you're only exposing what you have to say to people who are agreeing to you and aren't going to challenge what you have to say?
Well, I mean, it depends, I guess, on how you're if that's your whole life, then yeah, that's bad. But if you're
that's bad.
But if that's just one thing that you're doing, one place that you're interacting, but then you're interacting in real life, and you're able to have a disagreement, or you're able to hear other people's perspectives that are different from yours, then I don't think that that's that bad.
Yeah.
But if you if somebody tells you something that you don't agree with, and you're gonna have a meltdown,
yeah,
then that's probably not a good thing.
It's a problem. It's a problem when actual things online affect your everyday day-to-day life. When somebody says something online, it affects you in your real life. And I'm not saying that social media is fake life, but it can cause you to have a bad day. It can cause you to like because I think of things in the shower. Like I'll literally sit in the shower and think about things. Mm-hmm. I'll be like, why did they say that? And then, so like I said, not that I'm obsessed, but I'm just, I'm just thinking about it.
I don't know. The thing for me, like, I don't really get on social media the way that I used to when I first started. I feel like I kind of like, and I think I was mentioning to you the other day, I was like, I was telling you like, I was telling you the other day that I have started pulling out, I feel like, myself out of like the different things that I'm doing online. So like out of my company page, now it's the company page. Mm-hmm. Out of this podcast page, now I made it the podcast page, and it's not necessarily Juan's page anymore. And and I'm like comfortable with that, and I'm like, I don't feel like that I'm trying to censor myself, but I feel like I'm okay with sharing less of myself. Yeah. Like I feel like I'm okay with pulling back a little bit. Yeah. And I don't feel like it's because I'm like scared to post anything out there. I just, for whatever reason, I don't feel like I feel like I want to just put that content out there more rather than more about myself. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't, like, when I go on streams, I don't really look at this. I don't really look at the streams that much. Like I go and I just.
What do you mean streams? What streams?
I browse. Like when I go to social, I really like just browse, and I hardly ever like really look at people's posts.
Yeah, it's like.
And that's probably why my engagement is low too. Because you have to like in this, you have to participate, right? Yeah. In order for you to like get a return.
But so
that's the whole concept.
After the lift of COVID, I want to take an approach to socializing a little bit different. So I'm trying to socialize a little bit different, even online, because friendships online are sincere, but so are friendships in person. And so I want to. I don't know what I want to, I don't know exactly what I want to do. I have an idea like in my mind. I want to be able to translate from online to offline.
What do you mean by that?
I want to, what am I trying to say? I'm not trying to say that I'm trying to have more friends, but I'm trying to be more active in my actual life as opposed to being just active on social. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think if you're just like social can be addicting, like especially like TikTok can be addicting. Like you can watch that stuff over and over, but
you just out at your own self.
Yeah, but it can be addicting because you can look at that stuff and some of that stuff is funny and it's entertaining, but then like. You have to look like, what are you doing, and is that all you're doing? Like in your real life, are you actually like interacting too? Or are you being productive in your daily life, or like, what are you doing in your real life? And I think that makes a big difference. Yeah. So you can be on social, you can interact on social, but if that's the only place you're interacting, then I think that's when it starts getting like. That's when you start feeling it yourself, and you start like seeing yourself like, oh man, like I need to like pull away a little bit from this.
So I wrote a few things that I thought that kind of went along with this conversation. I wrote this back in November, and it was in my notes, and I was going through my notes because I was cleaning my phone out from pictures and video and even my notes, because I go back and look at my notes. And that's when I came across social engineering, but I also came across this little thing that I wrote, and I'm hoping to read it and see what your interpretation is, because I read it and I tried to read it again and I understood it, and I was like, what did I mean by that? So, ready? It says, I even give my notes headlines. So it's called Genuine and Honest Conversations. And then I write to myself, I feel like I try to have an open dialogue. I forget not everyone is ready and appreciates an open conversation. People don't care if you're trying to make genuine connection. This whole online has muddled the waters and the connections and relationships with unnecessary intensity. How genuine and honest are your relationships online? I left it at the question mark.
And are you asking me or are you asking me?
It was just a thought. Okay, and then so I continue. I continue. And I wrote, and excuse my language, I wrote, it's easy to be a quote-unquote bitch. It's an easier choice that comes natural. It allows you to forgive the other person's behavior because you can just sit there and blame your attitude. You can forgive them for meeting your intensity energy with their intensity energy. It's difficult to be kind, open, and honest when the opposing side cares very little. You are left with questions that never have answers and feelings that will never leave you. And so with that, I was thinking to myself, like, how genuine are your conversations? How genuine are you really? Like, yeah, you're feeling an emotion, but when you put your phone down, do you stop the emotion and you go about your life? Like, and so that was my whole thing, was that it's difficult to tell how much the opposing side of people online, because it's so easy access. How much do they really care? And so do you know what is her name, the one from Dallas? She's a blogger. She has 4 girls. She just had a baby.
I don't know.
Positive Mom.
Oh yeah.
Elena. She does this thing where she only answers your phone calls and emails. No DMs, no text messages. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to, like, she will not answer you via, like, if you send her a message like on Facebook or Instagram, she will only answer you, and or even text messages, like if you text her through your phone, she would only answer your phone call or your email. And I was like, that's interesting. I guess that's a way to definitely, like, keep in contact with people and keep genuine relationships. Oh, Becky, she clawed me.
But I don't know, like, to me, like, I don't know if this is just being cynical, but I go back like to the basics, and I think, why do people go on social media to begin with? Like, why do people go on social media to share their content, to share pictures?
You do that every time you interact?
I think
on
for
social?
the most time, people, when they go and they post on social media, they're posting because they want to get a reaction. And usually it's a positive reaction, right? They want people to like their stuff. They want people to comment. They want people to say good things, nice things. They want people to be nice to them. Yeah. So do they really care to have a in-depth conversation? Do they care to, like, take it to a step further? Or do they just want to get that positive affirmation in that to moment, go about their day, and feel good about, whatever they shared, to have that, like, to say, oh, I got 40 likes. I got 40 likes on this picture. That's more likes than I ever got. Or, I looked really good today and I wanted to post a picture of myself.
You have to be clear, though. You're not saying that people shouldn't be positive.
No, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be positive, but I'm saying most of the time, I think when people share something on social media, they're sharing it to get a reaction. Yeah. So if you're sharing it to get a reaction, like, you're not really looking for more than that. Which is why I think a lot of the responses that people give are pretty short too. Like, hey, congratulations, that's awesome, good for you, you look great. It's a lot of feeding the ego.
I don't want to call it an ego.
I feel like it is.
You see, I don't think that. So I also wrote, and then this is another note, and I titled it Social Translation. I say, what happened to real talk? Nothing beats an actual in-person conversation. Not even a phone conversation can be replaced with an in-person transaction. There's so much loss when you aren't able to read between the lines. The truth is, people first form of communications are nonverbal transactions. How many times do you feel and look forward to familiar faces, sincere, glaring stares, looking back at you, smiling? There is a lot going on between the lines. Do you feel that's true?
Yeah, so I'll walk back what I said about, that it's always like, it's ego, because I think maybe that's a little bit unfair.
Strong word.
But I think now that you were saying that, like, I think of it as, like, when I see somebody on my phone, they're one-dimensional. They're one-dimensional. Like, I see their pictures, and no matter how like detailed the picture is, and no matter how the video is shot or whatever, if it's 3D or AI or whatever the hell they're using to do the video, it's still very like one-dimensional. It's not like
we understand
3D.
There's people on the other side of things.
No, I understand that they're there, but like, to me, it's easy to like disassociate that person as a real person
because they're in your phone.
They're only on my phone.
They're in your phone, literally.
Yeah. So
we know they exist, but for the time moment when I read it, they were in my phone.
So they're in my phone.
Yeah.
So that's different.
Yeah.
So I think that's different. Like, and I think maybe it gives you a different vantage point. Like, since we know a lot of influencers who are online and they're on social, and we know them as the one-dimensional, and then we know them as their like three-dimensional real life person. So I think that gives us
not their AI, but their actual self.
So I think that gives us a different perspective on it. But imagine, like, that's to me is the hard thing to grasp. Imagining like that's like, say you're an influencer or you're somebody that people follow, and you're only one-dimensional to them. Yeah. So they may think that you're
they have a perception of you.
They may have a perception on you. They might think that you're their best friend.
But we do that.
They might be like, I'm Team Angelica.
But that goes back to social engineering, whether it's manipulating or for bad or for good. I've socially engineered who I am online, which is something I've said that it's not.
But I think that's where what I have a hard time grasping is like, how does it feel to? How do you make that person three-dimensional, or how do you think about that person in a three-dimensional way when they're only one-dimensional? Yeah. On your, like, that's the only way you're ever going to know them. Yeah. They're only always going to be one-dimensional on your phone. Yeah. And no matter how big of a supporter of them you are, of a fan, whatever you want to call it, they're never going to be more than that. So it's like, how do you translate that?
I guess oh my goodness, she keeps digging into my pants. I guess it goes back to because it's so easy to blur the lines, right? Because the only time we ever seen anybody as you quote unquote say it one-dimensional, just one-sided based on what we've seen, based on the interactions they've had with other people online or in TV, it's when we see them celebrity style, and now we have celebrity blocks A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Like, there's so many levels to this celebrity. Like, there's internet, there's movie, there's this, there's that. And so even like micro celebrities.
It goes like, I guess, to a real life example would be like kind of what you were saying at the beginning about being manipulative. So if somebody that you know in real life, like say, is like super sweet, like them, or like somebody like say I know somebody and I'm like, that person is super sweet. They're always super sweet to me. I always see they're always the nicest person to me and blah blah blah. But you know them to be different. Like you know that they are conniving, that they do stuff, that they.
No, I don't know anybody like that.
No, I'm just saying like. I'm just saying, like, in general, like that, like if you knew somebody, like even with the work environment, like somebody thinks like that employee is like the boss thinks that employee is the best worker. They're never doing anything
They go
wrong,
home and they're a completely different person,
or they go